Golden Iris Production presents the electron as a toroidal electromagnetic structure, linking preon core and classical radius via Kepler-like orbits, by Mark F. Dennis. Abstract. We present a theoretical framework for the electron, modelled as a toroidal electromagnetic structure with two fundamental radii. The inner preon radius, R0, defines the core. The outer classical radius, RE, defines the effective boundary. A single photon circulates along a quantized, highly elliptical orbit, experiencing strong electromagnetic time dilation. This process generates the electron's rest mass. The inner and outer circumferences are linked through fundamental constants, bridging Planck-scale physics and classical electromagnetic structure. Introduction. The electron is traditionally modelled as a point particle with charge E and mass m sub e. However, its internal structure and the origin of its rest mass remain open questions. Classical electromagnetism describes the electric field as an inverse square radial field. This raises a deeper question. What physical structure gives rise to these properties? Toroidal electron hypothesis. The magnetic moment of the electron is typically attributed to intrinsic spin. In this work, we explore an alternative picture. A toroidal electromagnetic structure with two characteristic scales, the preon radius, R0, and the classical electron radius, RE. We propose that the electron's rest mass arises from a confined photon, moving along a quantized elliptical orbit within an emergent time gradient. Fundamental radii. We define two fundamental radii. First, the preon radius, derived from the Planck length and fine structure constant. This defines the inner core. Second, the classical electron radius, derived from electromagnetic self-energy. This defines the outer boundary. Their corresponding circumferences are related through fundamental constants. This establishes a direct connection between Planck-scale structure and classical electromagnetic scales. Toroidal electromagnetic structure. In this model, the electric field is not static. It rotates with the electron's spin, forming helical loops along the equator. Magnetic fields emerge from the poles, creating a twisted circulation. Together, these form a toroidal structure, bounded internally by C0 and externally by CE. Energy circulates helically, completing two full cycles, naturally producing half-spin behavior. Kepler-like photon orbit. We now consider the motion of a confined photon. The photon follows a highly elliptical orbit. Its closest approach, or perihelion, occurs at the preon radius. Its farthest distance, or aphelion, occurs at the classical electron radius. The governing force follows an inverse square law. The orbital radius emerges from a balance between this force and photon energy. Angular momentum is quantized in integer multiples of h-bar. This produces stable, discrete orbital states. Time dilation and confined photon. The confined photon experiences an electromagnetic analog of Schwarzschild time dilation. As it approaches the inner radius, time dilation increases significantly. The electron's rest mass emerges from the photon's energy, modified by this effective time dilation. The characteristic frequency of this photon is on the order of 10 to the 20th Hertz. The effective time dilation factor remains near unity when averaged over the orbit. Properties of the confined photon. Using the Planck relation, energy equals h times nu. Substituting the derived frequency gives an energy of approximately 8.2 times 10 to the minus 14 joules. This matches the known rest energy of the electron.
This agreement suggests that the electron's mass may arise directly from confined photon energy.
Mass from confined energy. A photon confined within the toroidal structure experiences strong time dilation. Its energy becomes effectively trapped and continuously recirculated. The observed electron mass emerges as energy divided by c². In this picture, mass is not fundamental, but instead appears as stored electromagnetic energy. Confined photon energy calculation. Starting from the Planck relation, energy equals h times nu. Substituting the frequency gives a numerical value of approximately 8.2 times 10 to the minus 14 joules. This matches the electron's rest energy with remarkable precision. Why 511 keV? From mass energy equivalence, energy equals mc². Using the known electron mass yields an energy of approximately 8.19 times 10 to the minus 14 joules. Converting to electron volts gives 511 kilo electron volts. This corresponds exactly to the confined photon energy. Thus, the electron's rest mass can be interpreted as the energy of this confined photon.
Physical interpretation. At the inner circumference, the photon is near perihelion. Here, confinement and time dilation are maximal. At the outer circumference, the photon is near aphelion, corresponding to the classical electromagnetic boundary. The toroidal circulation produces a helical path, with energy completing 2 full cycles. The elliptical, quantized orbit naturally generates both inner and outer scales. This diagram illustrates the toroidal structure of the electron. The inner circumference corresponds to the preon scale. The outer circumference defines the classical electron boundary. The photon orbit connects these two scales through a continuous trajectory. Here we see precessing elliptical photon orbits. These orbits form a toroidal field around a central core. The precession introduces harmonic structure and directional circulation. This supports the stability of the toroidal configuration.
Conclusion. We have presented a 2-scale toroidal model of the electron. The inner preon circumference defines a highly confined core. The outer classical circumference defines the effective electromagnetic boundary. In this framework, the electron's rest mass emerges from a single photon, circulating along a quantized, highly elliptical orbit. This photon experiences an electromagnetic analogue of time dilation. The inner and outer radii are linked through fundamental constants, revealing a geometric connection between Planck-scale and classical physics. This approach unifies ideas from classical electron theory and quantum confinement. It produces a mathematically consistent and geometrically intuitive model. Energy, mass, and time dilation emerge directly from confined photon dynamics. This framework opens new directions for understanding the structure of matter, the origin of mass, and the relationship between electromagnetism and quantum theory. It invites further exploration into emergent gravity, preon models, and the fundamental architecture of the electron.